today is the end of what I think is day 7, possibly day 8, of our Bongo Scotland Trip 2021. And at the moment I'm on a campsite somewhere in between Helmsdale and Brora, which on the map, if you have a look, is kind of there on that coast. And we started the day somewhere around there. So we've been along here, cut off that corner and then gone down. Okay, so what's happened? Well, we woke up where we were last night, which was an incredible location by, I say it's a loch, it was actually a coastal, and we were very near to where the Cape Wrath ferry leaves from. Now, Cape Wrath is kind of like the northwestern corner of Great Britain, and there's a lighthouse there, and I was planning to go out there, but you have to take a ferry and then a minibus to get to this lighthouse. And to be honest, we've already seen like 2 or 3 lighthouses this trip, and so we just said, nah, let's not bother. So we carried on to Durness, which is it's a village, that's all it is, but it's the only place for miles around, where we stopped. And there's a bit of an interesting kind of like craft village, a bit of a hippie hangout, in an old radar station up there. So we stopped there. Thomas had some hot chocolate, which is meant to be the best hot chocolate in the world. He said it was good, but maybe not the best. I used the toilet in the art gallery, and the art gallery was run by a very eccentric gentleman. His name is Philip. He's quite well known locally, I believe. Who he was like the guy who stood for the Family Party of Scotland. Never even heard of him, but it's some kind of extreme right-wing, libertarian, anti-abortion, kind of pro-Brexit weird party. And like they're quite hardcore about masks still in Scotland, because in England we don't need to wear them anymore. And yet his like art gallery had a "Don't wear a mask in here, I want to see your face," and there was a piece of artwork with German on, basically, you know, intimating that like wearing masks was a kind of fascism. He was also very into men's rights, and that's quite interesting, because some things about men's rights I think are really worth considering. And he pointed out a lot of stuff about like how men are victims of domestic abuse, and there's no support for them, and there's more men that are homeless than women and stuff like that. So, you know, there is some kind of genuine stuff going on there, but he sort of went a bit down a weird avenue with it. So anyway, that was that. Moved on, and we went to this cave called, I think it was called Who Cave, and we just saw it, so we thought we'd stop. It's like the major attraction, I think, in the area, and it was pretty cool. It was really impressive, and we climbed down from the car park to this cave, and it was quite a large cave. Apparently the Vikings used to bring their ships up to it and mend them, and I guess it was a safe, dry harbour for them. But within the cave, there's like another inner cave with an almighty waterfall. So it was really something special. Yeah, I really enjoyed that. Then we carried on, and we took a detour. Now I'm going to have a look on the map what this place was called, because I can't remember. Okay, so this detour was near to the mountain of Ben Hope, and it was a broch. You might remember I went to a broch on Lewis, near the Standing Stones, and these brochs are circular towers from BC times. Nobody knows too much about them, but they were kind of like where clans lived, and they were said that there was meant to have been a king that lived in this one at one time. You couldn't get in it. It was basically just a circular ruin, but the setting was absolutely gorgeous. And once we were off the North Coast 500, it was totally, utterly deserted. And that's really interesting, because the North Coast 500, like, I'd gone on it because there was a guy at the top of my mum's road, Stuart Tunnicliffe, great guy. He went and did it in a bongo a few years ago, and he was just raving about the scenery and how you'd find all these deserted coves where you could go swimming and stuff. And it's disappointed me. Not the scenery. The scenery's blown me away. It's probably the greatest scenic drive I've ever been on. It's unbelievable in that regard. but just the sheer amount of people doing it. And I guess we are at the height of the tourist season, and we are in a year where people tend to holiday at home. Uh, but it can seem like an almighty procession of camper vans at times, and that's disappointing, particularly since we're going the other way. Most people seem to do it anti-clockwise. We're going clockwise, and that means when there's passing places, we end up having to stop at everyone and wait for all these campers to go past, which is a pain. But yeah, but the scenery is absolutely unbelievable. But I'm going to be honest, I didn't enjoy it that much because the brakes are worse than before. I don't like driving it at the moment, and so I just want to kind of finish the drive-in, and to the point that when we got to Thurso and we went to Thurso and we had some fish and chips for a tea there, rather than continue to John O'Groats, which was our original plan, I said, look, we've been to John O'Groats before we went on our Orkney trip, and I cut the corner off. And so we've not done the full 500. We cut the corner off across a beautiful, incredible, eerie landscape of peat bog, very similar to Lewis. And so missed out Wick, which I've been to before anyway. And then we continued on to where we are now, which is this campsite on the beach. It's absolutely gorgeous. So we're right by the beach. We've had a fire by the beach, and there's been seals in the water. It's a beautiful place. And we actually went there when we went on our Orkney trip. I looked it up because it said that you could build fires there. And that for me is really important. And we got there when we were on our Orkney trip, but it was so windy we couldn't physically put the tent up, and I actually injured myself. I cut myself on the carbon rods. It was really painful. In the end, we couldn't actually put the tent up. We had to give it up. We went to stay in a nearby guest house called the Jutta Guest House, run by a German gentleman. And Tom remembered it well, and we saw it as we came past today, because he said it was the first time he'd stayed in a B&B, and he remembered they left a penguin bar on the pillow as a gift, which I couldn't remember, but that's what you remember when you're a kid, I guess. So yeah, we always said we would return to that campsite and we would do it, and we've done it. And do you know what? It was absolutely gorgeous. I did take a dip in the sea, but it was freezing. So I left that to the seals and instead set up my fire and read some of the book that I'm reading at the moment, which is a great book. Not quite finished it yet. It's called The Apprentice Tattoo. And I bought this book in Lewis in Stornoway, and it's a fiction book, and it's a self-published one, but a good self-published one, and it's all about the sanding stones at Kellynch, and it's set in Neolithic times. So it's a Neolithic novel. I've never read anything like that before. Anyway, that's that. I'm going to go back to my book. Thank you for listening, and keep travelling.